There is a night before every ending, a quiet hour where the noise of the world fades and something ancient inside you finally speaks. You feel it right now, don't you? That heaviness in your chest, that strange stillness, like the universe itself is holding its breath, waiting for you. Tomorrow, everything changes not because of luck, not because of timing, not because someone finally noticed you, but because of what you did. Every tear you cried in silence. Every night you refused to quit when quitting would have been easier. Every betrayal you survived. Every door that slammed shut in your face. Every person who walked away and called it moving on. That was not punishment. That was preparation. You were never meant to walk the easy road. The chosen never do. The ones carrying destiny on their shoulders are always tested in the dark, far from applause, far from comfort, far from anyone who could see what was really happening. You thought you were forgotten. You were being forged, and now, the fire is almost done. Tomorrow is not the end of your story. Tomorrow is the end of their story. The story where you stayed small. The story where you doubted yourself. The story where you let other people's opinions decide your worth. That story dies tomorrow because of what you did. You kept believing when belief made no sense. You kept moving when your legs were shaking. You kept faith alive in a heart that had every reason to give up on itself. So hear this clearly, chosen one. What is coming tomorrow is not something that is happening to you. It is something that is happening because of you. Stand still for a moment. Feel the weight of it. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where you were always meant to be, one night away from becoming who you were born to become. The ending is near, and it is glorious. Let me tell you something no one ever tells the chosen ones early enough in their journey. Before your rising, there is almost always a betrayal, not a small one, not a forgettable one. The kind that cuts so deep it changes the way you see people forever. The kind that makes you question whether trust was ever safe to give in the first place. Maybe it was a friend who smiled to your face and whispered behind your back. Maybe it was someone you loved who chose comfort over loyalty when you needed them the most. Maybe it was a room full of people who watched you struggle and said nothing, did nothing, felt nothing. You remember the moment. You remember exactly where you were standing when it happened. The air got heavy, your chest tightened, and somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispered, "So this is what I'm worth to them." That moment broke something in you. But listen closely, because this is the part almost no one understands until years later. Looking back with tired, grateful eyes, that betrayal did not break you. It revealed you. It stripped away every illusion you had about who was really standing beside you. It burned off the fake connections, the shallow bonds, the people who only loved the version of you that never asked for anything, never needed anything, never became anything more than what was convenient for them. Betrayal is brutal, but betrayal is also honest. It shows you in one devastating moment exactly who was never truly there. And here is the sacred truth hidden inside every painful ending. You cannot carry a destiny while surrounded by people who were only meant for a season. The chosen path requires empty hands before it can fill them with something greater. Some people have to leave, some doors have to slam, some hearts have to break, not to destroy you, but to empty you of everything that was never meant to come with you into what's next. Think about every story of greatness you've ever admired. Every person who changed the world, who rose from nothing, who became a legend in their own lifetime, almost all of them walked through a season of profound betrayal before their breakthrough. They were underestimated. They were abandoned. They were talked about, laughed at, doubted, dismissed. And in the quiet after the betrayal, when the room went silent and the applause they expected never came, something shifted inside them. Pain turned into fuel. Silence turned into strategy. Isolation turned into strength. This is happening to you too, right now. Even if you can't fully see it yet, the people who left were never meant to witness what you're about to become. Some chapters of your life require a smaller audience, not because you are less, but because what's coming is too secret, too heavy, too important to be carried by hands that weren't strong enough to hold it in the first place. So if you are sitting in the wreckage of a friendship that ended too suddenly, if you are still replaying the conversation where someone showed you exactly who they were, If you are still aching from a love that walked away when you needed it most, I need you to hear this gently but firmly. That was not the end of your story. That was the editing of your story. The universe was removing characters who were never written into your final chapters. You are allowed to grieve them. You are allowed to feel the ache of what was lost. Faith does not mean pretending the pain isn't real. Strength does not mean skipping the grief, but do not mistake the ending of a relationship for the ending of your worth. Do not let their absence convince you that you were the problem. Sometimes the most loyal, most loving, most deeply chosen souls are the ones who experience the deepest betrayals, because darkness always tries hardest to break the brightest light before it has the chance to shine. You were tested in private so that your strength could be proven in public. You were betrayed quietly so that your rise could not be denied loudly. And here is where inner strength enters the story, because inner strength is not something you're born with in full form. It is something built moment by painful moment, choice by difficult choice. Every single time you decided to keep going instead of giving up. Every night you didn't respond to the person who hurt you with the same cruelty they showed you. That was strength. Every morning you got up anyway. Even though your heart still felt shattered, that was strength. Every time you chose silence over revenge, patience over bitterness, faith over fear, that was strength, quietly building inside you like a fortress no one could see forming. They thought they broke you. They didn't know they were building you. Betrayal is often disguised as an ending. But for the chosen ones, it is almost always a beginning, the closing of one door so violently that you have no choice but to turn around and finally see the door that was open behind you the entire time. The people who left you were never meant to walk into what's coming. Let them go. Let the ache become gratitude. Let the silence they left behind become the space where your faith grows louder than their absence ever could. Because tomorrow, everything ends, and what ends first is the power that betrayal once had over you. There is a kind of pain that only makes sense in hindsight. You've felt it. The waiting that seemed endless, the prayers that seemed unanswered. The doors that closed right when you thought you were finally ready to walk through them. You asked, why now? Why me? Why does everything have to be so hard, so slow, so painfully uncertain? And the silence that answered you felt unbearable. But chosen one, that silence was never empty. That silence was divine timing, quietly working behind the scenes of your life while you couldn't see the full picture. Nothing was late. Nothing was wasted. Every delay you suffered through was actually protection, positioning, and preparation. Three things you can only recognize once you've made it to the other side of the storm. Think about it. If everything you wanted had come to you the moment you wanted it, would you have become who you are today? Would you have developed the patience, the resilience, the depth of character that pain alone can carve into a soul? The chosen path is never a straight line. It winds through valleys, deserts, storms, and long stretches of silence that feel like abandonment but are actually incubation. You were never forgotten in those seasons. You were being formed. Every year that felt wasted was actually a year spent building the version of you strong enough to carry what's coming. Every failure that felt devastating was actually redirection, steering you away from paths that would have led you far from your true purpose. Every relationship that ended, every job that fell through, every dream that seemed to die, all of it was divine timing working with precision you couldn't understand in the moment. Now look at where you are. Look at how far you've already come, even on the days it didn't feel like progress. You survived every single difficult day of your life so far, 100% success rate. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every moment you thought you couldn't take another step, and yet here you are. Still standing, still breathing, still believing even in the smallest, quietest corner of your heart. That is not an accident, that is destiny refusing to let you go. Divine timing does not move on your schedule. It moves with a wisdom far beyond what your current understanding can grasp. It knows what you need before you know you need it. It knows when you're ready before you feel ready. It withholds and delays not out of cruelty, but out of a love so complete that it refuses to give you anything before you are strong enough to hold it without breaking. This is why faith matters more than certainty. Faith is not knowing exactly how the story ends. Faith is trusting that the one writing your story has never once written a chapter without purpose. Faith is choosing to believe, in the darkest, most uncertain moments, that light is still coming, even when you cannot see even a flicker of it yet. You have carried faith through fire. You have carried it through betrayal, through exhaustion, through nights where hope felt like a luxury you couldn't afford anymore. And still, some small ember inside you refused to go out completely. That ember was never small to the universe. That ember was the proof that you were chosen. Because the truth is, not everyone survives what you've survived and still has faith left afterward. Most people, faced with the same pain, the same betrayal, the same long seasons of unanswered waiting, would have let their faith die completely. But you didn't. Something in you kept believing, even when believing made no logical sense. That is not weakness. That is the mark of someone destined for something greater than the pain they walked through. Transformation does not happen in comfort. It happens in the crucible, in the uncomfortable, uncertain, painful in between, where the old version of you slowly dies so the new version can finally be born. You have been in that crucible for a long time now. You have felt yourself changing quietly in ways that words can barely capture. You are not the same person who started this journey. You carry a depth now, a wisdom, a quiet strength that only comes from having survived what should have destroyed you. Tomorrow, that transformation reaches its turning point. Not because the universe suddenly decided to notice you, but because of everything you did. Every act of faith, every moment of resilience, every refusal to give up when giving up would have been so much easier. You built this ending with your own hands, one difficult day at a time. So when tomorrow comes and everything shifts and the chapter you've been living finally closes, do not be afraid. This is not destruction. This is the divine timing you've been praying for, finally arriving exactly when you were ready to receive it. Chosen one, you were never meant to walk an easy path. You were meant to walk a sacred one. Every betrayal, every silence, every delay, all of it was leading you here to this exact moment, one night away from the ending that becomes your beginning. Tomorrow, it all changes, not because the universe suddenly remembered you, but because you never stopped believing, even when belief cost you everything. If these words touch something deep inside you tonight, don't let this moment pass in silence. There is a moment that comes right before every great transformation, a moment so quiet, so easy to miss, that most people walk right past it without ever knowing what it was. It is the moment of awakening, not a loud moment, not a dramatic one. It rarely comes with fireworks or applause. It comes in silence, in the middle of an ordinary night, in the stillness after a long cry, in the quiet after you finally stopped pretending everything was fine. You have felt it, haven't you? That strange shift inside you, a sudden clarity that arrived without warning, a moment where you looked at your life, the noise, the people, the version of yourself you'd been performing for everyone else, and something inside you whispered, "This isn't who I am anymore." That whisper was not random. That whisper was your soul waking up. For most of your life, you were taught to shrink, to stay quiet, to make yourself smaller so others could feel comfortable around you. You learn to apologize for your intensity, to hide your depth, to dim the very light that made you you, and for a while it worked. You blended in, you survived by disappearing, but the chosen ones can only disappear for so long. There comes a point where the soul refuses to stay hidden any longer, where the fire inside you grows too large to be contained by the small life you built around your fear. That is what is happening to you right now. That is the awakening. It often begins with discomfort, a restlessness that has no clear explanation. You look around at the life you built, the relationships, the routines, the version of success you were told to chase, and none of it feels like yours anymore. It feels borrowed, performed, hollow. This is not a crisis. This is a calling, the old version of you, the one who stayed quiet to keep the peace, who shrank to avoid rejection, who settled for less because more felt too frightening to hope for. That version is dying. And it should be grieved, because even a false version of yourself can feel like family after years of wearing it like skin. But you cannot walk into what's coming tomorrow wearing yesterday's armor. Awakening asks something difficult of you. Honesty, brutal, unflinching honesty about the parts of your life that no longer align with who you're becoming. The friendships that drain you instead of nourish you, the habits that numb you instead of heal you, the beliefs about yourself, I'm not enough, I'm too much, I missed my chance, that were never true. Only repeated so often they started to feel like fact. Every chosen soul reaches this crossroads, a moment where staying comfortable and becoming who you're meant to be can no longer coexist. You must choose. And here is the sacred secret hidden inside every awakening. The pain you feel right now, the confusion, the restlessness, the grief for a life you're outgrowing, it is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is proof that something right is happening. Caterpillars don't gently transition into butterflies. They dissolve completely inside the cocoon, every part of their old form breaking down into something unrecognizable before they're rebuilt into something that can finally fly. If you cut open a cocoon halfway through, you wouldn't find a half caterpillar, half butterfly. You'd find chaos, formless, disoriented chaos. That is where you are right now. You are in the cocoon, and it feels like falling apart because, in a way, you are falling apart, but only the parts of you that were never meant to fly with you into what's next. This is why isolation feels so heavy right now, why the people around you seem further away than ever, why even in a crowded room, you feel a loneliness that words can't quite explain. It's not because something is wrong with you. It's because your spirit has already begun the process of transformation, and the people around you, the ones still living in the old story, simply cannot follow you there yet. Let them stay where they are. You are being called somewhere they cannot see. Awakening also brings clarity about power, real power, the kind that has nothing to do with control over others and everything to do with mastery over yourself. You start to notice how much energy you used to give away, how much of your peace depended on other people's opinions, other people's approval, other people's permission, and slowly, painfully, beautifully, you start taking it back. You stop explaining yourself to people who were never going to understand. You stop shrinking your dreams to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. You stop waiting for permission to become who you were always meant to be. This is the moment faith stops being something you say and becomes something you live. Not blind faith, not naive faith, but the deep, steady faith of someone who has walked through fire and come out changed, someone who no longer needs proof because they have already lived the proof in every battle they survived. Tomorrow, this awakening reaches its edge. The old life, the shrinking, the performing, the waiting for someone else to notice your worth, it ends. Not because circumstances forced it, but because you did. You are the one who kept listening to that quiet whisper instead of silencing it. You are the one who chose truth over comfort, even when truth was terrifying. You are the one who let the old version of yourself dissolve, instead of clinging to something familiar out of fear. That took more courage than anyone around you will ever fully understand. So if you feel lost right now, in between, unrecognizable even to yourself, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not broken. You are becoming. The awakening is not a punishment. It is the universe finally trusting you with the truth of who you are. And what comes after an awakening like this is never smaller than what came before. It is always, always greater. There is a kind of silence that only the chosen ones ever come to know. It is not the silence of peace. It is not the silence of rest. It is the silence that falls right before something enormous is about to happen. The deep, unsettling stillness that comes in the final hours before a storm breaks the sky wide open. You have felt it, haven't you? These past few days, maybe even these past few weeks. A quiet that feels almost too heavy to sit inside. The phone that doesn't ring the way it used to. The plans that don't come together. The doors that used to open now, standing closed, silent, unmoving. You have wondered if you did something wrong. You have wondered if you've been forgotten. You have wondered, in your most honest and vulnerable moments, if maybe this silence means the story is simply over. I need you to hear this clearly and without doubt. This silence is not abandonment. This silence is preparation. Every great transformation in history has been preceded by a period of profound stillness. Before the sunrise, the darkest hour. Before the harvest, the empty field. Before the storm that reshapes everything. An eerie, heavy calm that makes even the birds stop singing. Nature understands something that most people forget. Silence is not the absence of movement. It is movement so massive, so powerful, that it happens far beneath the surface, invisible to anyone who only looks at what's happening on top. Right now, beneath the quiet surface of your life, something enormous is shifting into place. You cannot see it yet. You cannot hear it yet. But it is happening, and it is happening because of you, because of the faith you refused to let die, even when everything around you grew unbearably still. This is the part of the journey most people cannot survive. Not the fire, not the betrayal, not even the awakening, the silence, because in silence there is nothing to distract you from your own thoughts. No noise to numb the doubt, no validation to quiet the fear, just you alone with your faith, forced to decide whether you truly believe in what's coming or whether you were only ever pretending to believe when things were easy. This is where faith is tested most severely, not in the loud moments of crisis, but in the quiet, uneventful days where nothing seems to be happening at all, where you wake up and it feels like yesterday, where you go to bed and nothing has changed, where the prayers feel like they're bouncing off a silent sky, and the patience you've been holding on to starts to feel less like strength and more like exhaustion. But listen closely, chosen one, because this is sacred truth. The silence is not empty, it is full. It is full of everything being arranged behind the scenes, out of your sight, beyond your control, exactly as it needs to be. You do not need to see it to trust that it's happening. That is what faith actually means, not the absence of doubt, but the decision to keep walking forward even when doubt whispers loudly in your ear. Think of every seed ever planted in the ground. Before it becomes a tree, before it produces fruit, before it grows tall enough for anyone to notice, it spends time in complete darkness, buried beneath the soil, silent and seemingly lifeless. If you dug it up too early, out of impatience or fear, you would destroy it before it ever had the chance to become what it was meant to be. You are that seed right now, buried, silent, invisible to the world, but alive, still growing, even though no one can see it yet. Not even you. The silence you are walking through is not a sign that you were forgotten. It is a sign that you are being protected from premature exposure, kept hidden just long enough for your roots to grow deep enough to support what's about to rise above the surface. If your breakthrough came too soon, before you were ready, before your roots were strong enough, it would collapse under its own weight. The silence is not cruelty, it is mercy disguised as delay. This is also the season where you learn the difference between waiting for something and waiting on something. Waiting for something is passive. It is sitting still, hoping circumstances change on their own, watching the clock and counting the days. But waiting on something is active. It is preparing while you wait, strengthening your faith while you wait, becoming who you need to be while you wait, so that when the silence finally breaks, you are ready to meet what's coming without hesitation. Are you preparing, or are you simply waiting? The chosen ones understand this difference instinctively, even if they can't always explain it. They use the silence. They don't waste it complaining about how long it's taking. They don't waste it comparing their quiet season to someone else's loud, visible harvest. They use it to grow stronger, quieter, more rooted in who they are, so that when the storm finally breaks, they are not swept away by it. They are the ones standing steady in the middle of it, unshaken, because they spent the silence becoming unshakable. This is your invitation right now, in this very moment, not to panic in the silence, not to interpret stillness as failure, but to use this sacred, uncomfortable quiet to deepen your faith, strengthen your resolve, and prepare yourself for what is coming faster than you realize. Because storms do not stay quiet forever. And this one, the one that has been building beneath the surface of your life, hidden in every silent night, every unanswered prayer, every moment you almost gave up, but somehow impossibly didn't. This storm is close now, closer than you think, closer than the silence would have you believe. You will know it when it arrives, not by noise, but by change. Change so sudden, so undeniable, that it will make the silence before it finally makes sense. You will look back at these quiet days, the ones that felt endless, the ones that tested every ounce of faith you had left, and you will understand with tears in your eyes that they were never wasted. They were the making of you. Everything has a season, even silence, especially silence, and the season of stillness you've been living in, the one that has felt so long, so heavy, so uncertain, it is ending tomorrow. The storm breaks not to destroy you, to reveal you.